Okay, guys, if you're watching this video, I'm assuming that you've downloaded MATLAB. So I'm making this video as a brief introduction to the MATLAB integrated development environment. And for those of you who are new to coding, an integrated development environment, or IDE for short, is a user interface in which the user directly implements their code. And so when you first load MATLAB after downloading it, you'll see this screen. And so the top ribbon, which is up here, this is where you need to first familiarize yourself with in the MATLAB IDE. So the Home tab is where you can create and open files. So you have new, and there's a list of types of file types here. You can also open other files, and you can use the current folder to be able to open files which are in the current folder. And also, you can also access and add on to MATLAB known as Simulink from the Home tab, which is useful in process control. And also, you can change your layout, which I just like the default layout. It's pretty nice, but also move the command window, which you'll see later in the video why I actually brought in this main section. And you can also change your preferences. Like if we want a dark color background, then we can change it to black. That way it's easier on our eyes. And boom. Okay, so you can also change other settings if you need to change the font, things like that. I haven't really used the other tab, so plots and apps, because you can actually directly implement these features in your script when you write the code. So to actually go to the interface to write code, we need to click the new script option, and this brings up the editor. This also, as you'll see, has opened up a new ribbon up top, the editor ribbon, in which you can manipulate your code that you write directly into the editor. And so now that we have the editor tab open, you need to familiarize yourself with the three main features. And so the three main features of the MATLAB window are the command window. So this is just essentially a scientific calculator, but it's a robust scientific calculator because you can directly access the routines and functions that you've previously written. And so what a function is we'll talk about this later, but a function is just some sort of wrapper that houses a bunch of operations that manipulate some input of data and give you an output. And actually, you don't even need an input, but like I said, we'll talk about this later in the class. So let's say that we want to declare a variable, and then we call a equal to 5. So by default, this is a double variable, and we'll talk about variable types later as well. And so let's also say b equals 10. Okay, and then we can also say v equals a b. So we're gonna make a vector, one row, two column, a 1x2 vector. And then we're going to use, this is what I was talking about, a function. So rather than doing the actual operation where we do plus, we can use a MATLAB built-in sum function. Now we get 15, a plus. Okay, so let's go ahead and use clear, which is going to clear the workspace, and CLC, which is going to clear the command window. Okay, so that's the first thing in the command window. The second important feature is the workspace. As you saw, when we input a equals 5, it's a variable that shows up in the workspace. So this is where all the list of variables and vectors and matrices are going to show up. Also, like data structures, things like that, which we will talk about later. Okay, and so now you can go directly into your editor, which is also the third most important feature of the MATLAB IDE, which is where we actually write. So we can go ahead and write first code. And we'll put a brief little statement. This calculate the volume of sphere. And so when you're first writing your code, you should include these three lines: clear, CLC, and close all. So like we had said before, so if I write clear, it's going to clear this workspace. If I do CLC, it's going to clear the command window. And if I had to figure up a plot of data that I'd previously plotted, and close all closes all the figures before, so that way when we plot in this environment, when we start manipulating data and manipulating code, writing code in this current script, We're not going to pull variables from another script or another function or start manipulating other figures from other codes that we've written previously. So it's good to always include these 3 lines, because you have some strange error that just appears out of nowhere. Well, you didn't clear the variables from the other code, and now you're not actually using the variables that you declared and initialized in the script. Okay, let's go ahead and declare a variable. We're going to call it r equals 4. So this is a radius. This percentage sign does is makes a comment. This is not actually code that is read by MATLAB when it's running the code. This actually is just lines that is just for the user to read. The computer doesn't really recognize what's going on here in the comments. Okay, so let's do volume equal thirds I r cubed. And so we can put a decimal here just in case we wanted to make this a vector, and we'll talk about this later. Here. Okay, and then we'll do f print f, and we're gonna make this a vector. Volume, the space, make sure you have the space here, num string. Now we need to save this, and so you're gonna go to save, and you're not gonna be able to see what I see, but I currently have this file window, and so you need to save it as some name. We're gonna save it as first code. You should see it pop up here. Now we have first code. You cannot include in MATLAB has a very specific way of naming files. You cannot include space, dashes, things like that. So now we hit run, and now we have the volume. Oh, we should also include /n. This makes a new line, so you can manipulate it. All right, so now we have calculated the volume. This is the first code that we've written. I hope this has helped you at least familiarize yourself with the MATLAB environment. I'll see you guys next time.